This video is showcasing every cube that I got from my 7 months of Puzzle Crate boxes. Hope you enjoy. In the first month, we got these two cubes. This one is the basketball cube, and it's just a 3x3, but it's textured like a basketball and it looks like a basketball. I scrambled it and tried to solve it, but as you can see, some of these centers and edges and stuff don't align perfectly, and there it is. That one edge has part of a corner, I think, on it. So this cube isn't perfectly solved, it does look solved, but it is pretty fun. However, if you set it down, it probably will roll away. Like that. For the second cube, we have the 3x3x5 that doesn't shapeshift. I don't know how to solve this, and it's scrambled. This is the only one that I got that's scrambled, because I thought I could solve it, and I did, but then I thought I could do it again, and I couldn't. So it doesn't shapeshift, but you can just turn these tiny layers as long as every piece on that layer has a little tiny layer. So it's pretty tricky to figure out. In the second month, we got these two cubes, and let me show you them. This one, I think it's called a hexagonal Fisher 3x3, and it has pieces from a 3x3, as you can see, but then it also has pieces from a Fisher cube. It does look pretty tricky, but it's pretty easy to solve. But these edges can be flipped, so that does make it a little tricky. However, it's just like a normal 3x3, just a shape mod, and it is pretty fun to solve. Here we have the penguin cube, which is just like my panda cube that I have, and he's pretty cool. He didn't come in a package, probably because that couldn't fit in the box that it came in. And he does have some little scuff and stuff right here, but besides that, he's pretty cool. And it's just like a 2x2, it's a modification, it's a shape mod, and it can be pretty tricky to solve, especially the last layer, because getting all the pieces in the right spot is the most difficult part about this. For month 3, we have these two cubes. This right here is just a normal Shangshao mirror blocks, so I don't need to do much explaining about this cube. But if you don't know what a mirror blocks is, it's a 3x3 modification where you solve it based on shape instead of color. And it can shapeshift. And if you're a beginner or a non-cuber, this does look pretty hard. But even if you know how to solve 3x3, in 2 minutes you could probably figure this one out. Then we have this Pyraminx modification. It's called the Crazy Pyraminx. And it's kind of similar to a puzzle coming up. How it works, you can't turn the tips individually, but it's kind of instead these whole things that I'm turning are the tips. So when you're solving it, you have to make sure all the tips are aligned, because then you'll have to undo moves. And this middle part turns, so you can go like that. But one thing I have noticed while solving it is these pieces right here, this yellow, red, and yellow, red piece. It is pretty tricky to see, and sometimes you forget about it. But besides that, this cube actually is pretty easy, even though it does look hard. For month 4, we have these two cubes. This first one here is called the Fisher Skewb. It may not look like a Skewb, but it has the same mechanism as a Skewb. And I think the name is Fisher from Tony Fisher, the guy who makes a bunch of crazy puzzles and stuff. If I'm wrong, then that's my fault. But it turns pretty weirdly, and sometimes you can't turn it. And it does shapeshift very weirdly. This was scrambled today, and I had to watch a tutorial for how to solve it. So it was actually pretty easy to solve with the tutorial, but without a tutorial, I would have had no idea how to solve this. Then we have this cube, which is called the Gear Minx, and I think you guys can see why. It's like a Mega Minx, but it's also a gear cube. But one time, I did scramble it a little. I solved it, though. But the only things that turn are the centers. So it's really easy to solve, and they just stay in place. So I don't really get what's going on with this cube. So it is pretty weird, and it's hard to turn. I just have it on display because I think it looks pretty cool. And I haven't tried scrambling this because I'm not sure if I could solve it. Because like I said, it doesn't seem like a lot can scramble, but I might be wrong. For the 4th month, we have these two cubes right here. This first one is called the Slim Pyraminx, and it's just one layer of a Pyraminx, kind of. It's very easy to solve. It was invented in 2011, but started being mass-produced in 2025. And it is very easy to solve, like I said. but the hardest thing is the tips, because it may look like, oh, I just need to turn one of these tips, but then even though they're all the same color, they're not the same color on all the same sides. So if you're trying to speed solve it, it does take a little bit more time on that. But besides that, it only requires one algorithm to solve. So it's probably the easiest one that I got. Then we have this cube. It's called the Ancient Coin Cube. And it's called a coin cube because these things turn and they're circles, and coins are also circles. And then these corners turn, and then you can turn the circle. This is pretty easy to solve, so month 4 had some pretty easy puzzles. And when I'm speed solving it, I can get around like 1 minute and 20 second solves. And it was pretty fun to solve, and it came in a cool box, I guess. So I just display it in there. For month number 6, we have these 2 cubes right here. This one is called the Container Cube, and it's a Skewb modification. And this one was also scrambled today, like the Fisher Skewb, but I watched the tutorial for how to solve it, and it was a little trickier than the Fisher Skewb, but I was able to figure it out. And it does turn weird, and it shape shifts, and in some spots you can't turn it. And this shape reminds me of a kite. It is pretty fun to solve, I guess. I've only solved it once though, but it's not so fun to scramble because then you can't solve it. This here is the Clover Cube, and it is quite a big cube, and it's just these things that turn, but there also is a little bit of a twist to it. These things can turn, and that's called jumbling, and that can make it really tricky to solve. I haven't tried solving it like that. I have just tried solving it with only turning these things that I'm turning right now, and I was able to solve it pretty quickly. And it also comes in this, I guess, nice box like the coin cube does, and I just display it with it. For the 7th and final month, we have these 2 cubes. This cube is the Chi M Pro Void Cube, and I've actually been wanting this for a while. I almost bought it, but then I was like, no, I actually don't want to. Same story with the Slim Pyraminx from earlier. And a Void Cube is just a 3x3 with no centers, so that can add parity. And parity looks like this. Just 2 edges swapped. But this cube actually is magnetic. It's not the UV coated version one. And it actually feels pretty good to turn. And there is some corner cutting in it, but when I've been speed solving it, I noticed that there's barely any reverse corner cutting. Like, look at that. It can't even do it. It can do it from there, but it takes a little bit of work. And the parity algorithm, if you want to memorize it, is pretty easy. For the last cube in this video, we have the Baseball Cube from Usen, and it's just a 2x2 modification. But you may be thinking, oh, this looks really easy to solve. But actually, if you turn this side over, this one aligns, but that one doesn't. So you actually have to make sure they're on the right side. And it's the same story with the Penguin Cube. After solving the layer, it is kind of hard to get all the pieces in the right spot. I was solving today, and I was trying to do some just 2x2 overload algs, but those weren't really working. I guess I was just recognizing the case wrong. But that's it for all the cubes in this video. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and I'll make sure to drop a link in the description to the Puzzle Crate website, and a link to all of the cubes where you can find them on the cubicle. And subscribe because we're trying to hit 1,000 subs by the end of the year. And I hope to see you soon.